Welcome to the Lunchtime Podcast. It's brilliant to have you back again. Today, myself and Mr. Lunchtime. How are you, Mr. Lunchy?
Hello, Biggie. How's things?
Not too bad. But because of a couple of requests from particularly Instagram, we're just going to do a betting particular focus podcast this time. So we've outlined our bets of the week on hunchtime.com. And what we're going to do is just run through them and give the reasons why we think there's a market edge for one bet over another. Mr. Lunchtime, why don't you start us off with your best, or one of your favorite best soccer bets for this week?
My favorite bet for this week, Biggie, is Atalanta back on the train again. They're away at the new boys in Serie A, Salernitana, and I love Atalanta -1 at 45. I also personally like the -2 at 11-5. They're even money half-time, full-time. I just think they're going to get back to their old ways. They're just going to create so many chances. It's been an awful start to their Serie A experience for Salernitana. Like they lost 3-2 in Bologna on their first day. Then they lost 4-0 at home to Roma on day 2. They had 0 shots on target in the game. They lost 4-0 in Torino last week. They had 2 shots on goal in 90 minutes. Like, they're just won't, like, sometimes as a betting edge, if you can pick a team that are just horrendous, like Sheffield United in the Premiership last year, and you go against them for the whole season, it's a good way of making profit. I can't see these boys getting any more than 15 points in the season. I think they're that bad. Atalanta themselves have had a slow start. Like, they lost at home to Fiorentina last week, but they didn't have Gosens, Malinowski, Ilic, De Roon,
Muriel.
He's still out this week, but like, they're some of their main players. They were all back midweek, and they drew 2-2 in Villarreal during the week, and they played really well, created lots of chances. And I just think, like, the amount of goals they score, I just think they're a great bet this weekend. I think they're going to hammer the daylights out of them. It wouldn't surprise me if they put 4 or 5 past them, to be honest.
That could be a terrifying one for Salernitana. I can't remember the last time they were in Serie A, but you get that the promotion bounce for the first 5 or 6 weeks. So sometimes it's a little bit less. I remember Wigan and Chelsea a couple of years ago when Paul Jewell after the game were sick as pigs, mate, when they just got caught in the last minute. But they played unbelievably well. And you try to ride that at the start of the year as much as you can, get a couple of points, just get yourself on the board, and then things usually level out, and then the cream rises to the top, and the teams that struggle even more as injuries and things come into play. But Salernitana have had such a rotten start. It's going to be hard for them to get any better, I would imagine. I think they got Simi, who was a brilliant player for Catrone last year. The Nigerian Peter Crouch, 6'7", scored about 16 goals for a team that went down last year. He was absolutely brilliant. But again, if you're conceding 4 to Torino, who are goal shy by Italian standards, you don't want to play Atalanta away from home.
Yeah, and the problem is they won't be able to, they just won't have enough of the ball to be creating chances for the big man. Like, Atalanta will just play their usual way. They'll go gung-ho, and they'll just open them up. Like, it might take 15, 20 minutes. Like, if they score early, God help them. But that'll be one of the best bets I've found anyways for this weekend.
Let me ask one at you that I literally robbed from you because you said it to me the last day. Alexander Mitrovic to score anytime. My bet of the week, 4-5. He has 6 goals in 7 games. Fulham are top of the championship. They're at home against Reading, who've conceded 17 goals in their first 7 games. Fulham could score 2 or 3 here, and Mitra is too good to be playing in this division.
Yeah, I couldn't disagree with that. I think that's a great bet. The bookies have copped onto it, though. He was, the first 3 games of the season, he was 9-4 for an anytime goal scorer, and it's gone odds on now. Still a great bet. Like, yeah, you might as well bet that than back and Fulham to win the game. You know, if they win the game, he's probably
Fulham are 3-25 or something. So they're like, you can't back that. But like, when you said it a couple of weeks ago, the market does. You have to catch these things on the time, because I'm putting in the hunch list this week because I still think it's good at around even money. But generally, backing an anytime goal scorer about that price would be a very bad idea. But just because of who it is, the league he's in, and he takes penalties, and Reading have been terrible at the back, he could get that one in the first half. What's your next one here?
We'll stick with Saturday, sure. I think you have the same one as me, Atletico Madrid to win. And I think you have, on the hunch list, you had put up under 3.5, if I'm right, and I had put up under 4.5. Again, it's just like, it's Atletico Madrid at home. Now, Bilbao have been good. They've started the season well. They don't really score goals. They don't really concede goals. But Atletico, like, they're the league champions of Spain, and I actually think they're stronger this year, like, with the signing of Griezmann. Like, when you have a front three of Carrasco, Griezmann, and Suarez, it's pretty freaky. Like, it's like, they're still considered by the bookies as the third best team in Spain. That to me is the best strike force in Spain. Like, I know they're very defensively minded under Simeone, and he has begun to change that a little bit. They have got better at scoring goals, but usually with Atletico, they're too short to back straight up. For my liking, anyways, personal preference and all that. Some people like putting in 1 to 3 shots in their cumes or 1 to 2 shots. Personally, don't like that. So a good way of bulking that up is just going by the under goals market in the game. So you've gone for 3.5, which I quite like. I just went that little bit safer at 4 to 5, the under 4.5 goals. It
So
gives you that.
you're taking out, basically, for people who are new to betting, you're taking out the chance that Atletico will win 3-1 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, they'll probably win the game. I'd say if I was to pick a score, I'd go for 2-0, something like that. But in the off chance that Bilbao do score and Atletico happen to score 3, you're taking that out of it. I can't see them scoring 4. So just taking that kind of out of it. Just kind of playing on the safe side.
I get you. I'm going to change my bet. I'd Atletico to win an under 3.5 goals at 21 to 20. It's actually better value in under 4.5 goals at 4 to 5 in your accum. You won't make that much more money, and it's just a little bit safer bet, which we tend to go for here, because we know people are popping these in accums for the weekend. I'm going to give you my next Saturday one, which is Huddersfield. They've won 4 out of their last 5 in the championship. They're going fairly well, popping in a good few goals. The main reason I'm going for it is Chris Hughton got sacked this year for Forest. They are horse shit at the minute. Now, sometimes a team gets a sort of surge when a new manager comes in, but away from home against a team in such good form, Huddersfield are even money. I'm going to take them. Yeah,
I agree with that. Backing against Forest has been a very profitable experience for a lot of people as well. Like, the place is toxic there at the moment for such a big club. It's sad to see. And they've tried a lot of big names in the last 10 years. Like, they've had, big names for championship. Like, you've had Alex McLeish, you've had Martin O'Neill, Karanka, you got Middlesbrough a few years ago. Houghton, I don't know, was Neil Warnock there? That'd be possibly, he probably was. Like, he's been at every championship team. But they've tried, I think it's like something being like 19 managers in the last 10 years. And nothing seems to work there. It's just a toxic job at the moment.
General soccer question for you. I'm sorry to interrupt. Do you think clubs hamstring themselves because of their perception of themselves? Well, by that I mean West Ham. We're a big club. We're a huge club. They spend like a huge club, and then they cycle through managers quicker because they expect more than a club like Burnley, for example. Do you think that's actually a detriment to a club? Because I see it with Forest and you see it with Newcastle as well.
Definitely. And the thing they do is they're spending big money. But, like, a good example would be Man United bought Varane for, 30 million, 35 million? A proven, experienced international World Cup, multiple Champions League winner centre-halves. And then you see teams like your West Hams, your Newcastle, for example, they spent the same money on a striker in Joelinton 3 seasons ago. What has he scored? 2 or 3 goals. They're just always taking a chance, and they're paying crazy money for players. Like Forest now, like, staying on them. Like, they expect attack in football because they think they're still the club they were 30 years ago. Like, what is it, 40 years? That's 40 years ago now. You know, that's nearly half a century. Like, at some stage, people have to get real and say, right, this is not working. Like, a good example is Leeds. Like, they were going absolutely nowhere in the championship. Like, they were in year 13, year 14, they were in League 1 for 2 years. They were going nowhere. And, like, just by recycling all these championship managers, you know, like, they had Warnock, they had Steve Evans. When Bielsa was appointed, people wanted Mick McCarthy to be appointed. Like, at some stage, a style has to change in a club. And, like, if Forest keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results all the time.
Yeah, the definition of insanity kind of thing.
Yeah.
But eventually, like, I think sometimes clubs just need, they have to go for a manager with a philosophy rather than a track record sometimes. Like Sam Allardyce, Mick McCarthy, Chris Hughton, these guys have track records. But when you look at their philosophy, it's ultra defensive, usually big man up front, try to play old fashioned football, and then be really hard to score against. Martin O'Neill falls into this as well.
I'll just interrupt you there, Biggie, just on that. That is okay in a funny way. That is okay at a lower half Premier League team, like Roy Hodgson at Crystal Palace last year, because it's easier to survive doing that. But that won't get you up, would be from, say, a championship up to the Premier League, because that day is gone. I think you have to be playing, like, you look at the teams that came up last year, Brentford, Norwich and Watford, they all play attacking football. And like, it's just something that you see that it's just something that even the year before you had Leeds and Fulham came up, Huddersfield came up a few years ago under Wagner. Like, it's all about attacking football. And like, whereas that defensive parking the bus will get you points if you're trying to stay in a league, it won't get you promoted or win you leagues. It's like, no matter what league it is. You've seen it at Man United when Mourinho was there. Like, fair enough, they got whatever 80 points, but they were never going to get enough to win the league because they were too negative in the big games. And it's that sort of stuff, really, I think.
The shift has happened so fast, and I think it's harder to recognize when you're watching it live. Like, if you were a soccer fan looking back, maybe you're a soccer historian looking back in 20 years' time, you're like, defensive football was the shit. Mourinho brought himself to the best manager in the world by playing uber defensive football and negative tactics. And that was the way to go. And if you were away from home, you parked the bus. And that was the trend. Now the trend, like a lot of this is down to like the managers who have risen to the top in the last few years, like Guardiola and Klopp, have sort of introduced this. But you need to be able to score 3 goals in any given game. You need to be scoring 90, 100 goals in a 35 game season, a 36 game season, should I say. But then you still have Simeone, who's had massive success, but he's one of the few in the last decade who've managed to have success playing really, really defensive football.
Yeah, but he has changed a little bit as well. He's a bit more attack minded than he used to be. Like, he'd always used to play with one big man up front, whether it was Costa, Falcao, whoever over the years. And he's slowly changed. Like, you see, he's playing 2 up front now. He's kind of slowly changing. More attack minded in the middle of the pitch. But I just think that's the way it's going, and that's the new trend. These trends change every 4 or 5 years, and we'll probably be saying in 5 years' time, give Sam Allardyce a job.
Let's pop on to your next favourite.
My next one on the hunch list was Wolves to win tomorrow at home to Brentford. Very keen on Wolves. I think I was saying this to you a few weeks ago. I watched them play twice against Man United and I think it was Spurs at home. They lost both games, but they played brilliant stuff in both games. They're up there with the most chances created out of any team in the league. They just haven't been taking them. Jimenez is 5 games under his belt now. Still hard to make a judgment on whether he's going to be back to his old self or not. The jury's out, but they won 2-0 away last weekend. So I like them at home to Brentford tomorrow. Brentford give up chances, Wolves create chances. Daniel Podence is also back from injury. A little like Pedro Neto, who's still out. The two of them are very similar. They have a deadly left foot cutting in from the side. They signed brilliantly in Trincao from Barcelona, who looks a serious young talent. They've Semedo back now at right back. Marcel, the left back, created both goals last week. They're solid. They've Ruben Neves in the middle of the pitch. They have a lovely fixture list upcoming. I'm very keen on them the next few weeks. And they're 17-20 to beat Brentford at home tomorrow morning. The only thing I don't like about it is the early game. And I always say, go against your gut feeling on the early game. If you think something is going to come in, back the opposite. And it's usually what happens. It seems to destroy accumulators time after time after time.
Uh, that's an age-old quote, and like you'd be more pissed off than Trevelyan when his corn was stolen if you back Wolves tomorrow morning in the early game, and if they end up drawing. Um, like on that, I had Wolves in as well. I took them out. Two reasons. Brentford are like a high variance team. There's going to be games where they're going to score like two, three goals this year. Wolves, like they've created a lot of chances. They haven't shown the like that ability to score more than two goals. I don't see it. Now they did play fantastic against United. They did play well against Spurs. What I thought from those games is this is going to be a really bad hard luck story, and because if they maintain that, Laga would be sacked after say 7 games because just impatience creeps in. But thankfully, they beat Watford last weekend away, really good. Um, I don't like that bet because it's in the morning, but I do like the price. I won't be putting it in though because I can't have my heart broken before the soccer even starts.
I'm going to stay on the Wolves bandwagon until it falls apart. Anyways, I liked them last week. They won. I like them this week. I think they'll win. So I'm going to stay with them for now until they give me a reason not to. But yeah, that's the way I see that. You have two more up on Saturday, I think, do you, in France and Italy?
Yeah, I'll race through the next two, Lens and Lille. Lens are at home, got off to a great start. Were unlucky to miss out on European football last year in Liga. They haven't played a game that's been under 2.5 goals. Most have been under 3.5 or 4.5 yet this year. Lille have had a nasty start after winning the league. They still have a lot of their talent there, but they lost Mike Magnon in goals to AC Milan. He is actually a massive loss. They still have their same centre back partnership in Boltman and Font or Rui Font if you want. But again, they look way weaker at the back with the loss of their keeper. They have the ability to score goals though. They still have a lot of the team there that was there last year. So I think that's over 2.5 is a must. I'm just going to be honest. I'm putting Lens in over 2.5. I don't give a shit. They can't defend and they're red hot at attacking. So I'm going to put them in until it fails. Basically,
Yeah.
it's like not being too scientific about it here, but anyway.
No, but I agree with you. I think it was one thing we did last year when we were doing the articles. We had Lens up a lot in the both teams score in over 2.5 markets, and it still doesn't seem to be copped onto.
Do you remember we did Atletico Madrid 7 times in a row and they won every single time? And we're like, why isn't the bookies copping on to Atletico Madrid and under 4.5 goals? And it's
Yeah,
just because everybody's going to Spain, back in Barcelona -1, rather than doing Atletico straight up, just because they're perceived like a better team, even though they're not. And it was the same with Real Madrid. Real Madrid would be 1-5 when they're at home, and Atletico Madrid would be, say, maybe 3-5, something like that, or even 4-5. So you can take them straight up, and they were a far better team. Let's go on to your next one.
you had one more there, Genoa and Fiorentina, I think, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I'll race through that. That's an over 2.5 on the nose. Fiorentina had an unbelievable away result last week when big monster Dusan Vlahovic, the 19-year-old Serbian, got 2 goals. He's been brilliant so far this year. Fiorentina haven't had less than 3 goals in a game this year. Genoa haven't had less than 4 goals in a game. They've had 5 goals in 4 of their games. That's an over 2.5, and it's brilliant value at 5-6. So that has to go in your queue.
I couldn't disagree with you, to be honest. I was intending to disagree with everything, but everything you've said
Can't
so
argue
far,
with the facts.
we can't argue with the facts. We'll move on to Sunday then, will we? What do you like on Sunday?
This is gonna break my heart, but I like Spurs double chance against Chelsea, just because I think it's the wrong price. Like Spurs are missing a hat load of players. Like, but just going through their injuries here. Dyer, that doesn't really matter. Son, that's horrendous. Bergwijn, like he'd probably a bench player. Tanganga is out, so Doherty will step in there. Chelsea have no injuries whatsoever. They're such an unbelievable squad. You saw against Zenit during the week in the Champions League why they signed Romelu Lukaku. Very few chances in the game. Zenit parked the bus, played unbelievable defensive football. One cross into the box, Lukaku leaps like a salmon, and instead of power header in it, he just places it in the corner. It was a classy finish from a really, really classy on-form striker, and that's his price justified there. because if you lose your first game in the Champions League, it gets very hairy, or if you draw it, it gets very hairy for the rest of it. It's just you're working harder than you should. Chelsea will cruise that group now. But yeah, Big Rom looks absolutely fighting fit. He changed his diet when he went to Inter. They found out he was eating something, and a hell of a lot of it by the looks of it, but he was eating something that he was allergic to. And the doctors in Milan got him to change his diet, and he looks absolutely red hot now. He looks quick, he looks slim, he looks lively. It's similar to when David Beckham went over to the other Milanese club, AC, and they told him to take out his fillings, because no soccer player in Italy would have golden fillings or silver fillings, any metal in their mouth, because it upsets the something or other in your body, and you're more prone to get injuries with metal fillings. But this is the sort of level of detail, and I think this is why Italian players last so long. Apologies, that was a rant. Do you want to go ahead for your next one?
I did like Spurs earlier in the week myself, but I have a rule, and that's I will never ever touch Spurs when Son is injured or not playing. I think he makes that whole team tick. Just the pace he has.
He's not like, I still hold out hope.
Yeah, he's just the pace he has and the relationship he has with Harry Kane. Like, I just think he's the main guy there. And when he's not there, they're a completely different team. What he gives them on the counter attack. But of course, like, there is a case to be made for that game being a 0-0 draw. Simple as. Spurs are good defensively. Chelsea don't really score much goals, and they're defensive themselves in a way. But I could see that game being a 0-0 draw.
Just value-wise, it's you can get it 13-10 in some places. I'm just looking up here while we're talking for double chance, and Spurs are too good for that. So I'm taking my double chance with the home team if you're getting that. Chelsea are goal shy enough. Like, it's just, I don't know. It could be a 1-0 Chelsea win, but I see this as possibly 0-0, and there I'm taking my double chance all day. What do you like next?
I'm going to France next. Marseille, who have started the season brilliantly, are 5-6 at home to Reims. Marseille have started scoring goals for fun. They've brought in a coach. He used to be the coach at Chile and Argentina in Jorge Sampaoli. I don't know if I said that right. But they've been scoring goals. They got 2 in Monaco last week and a 2-0 win, which was very impressive. 3 in Montpellier, 3 at home to Saint-Etienne. Like, Reims have 1 win, 2 draws and 2 defeats in their first 5 games. And I just think Marseille are just better than them, and they're at home and 5-6 available on them. I just think they'll win the game. Simple as that.
This one I don't like. They're missing Milik is out. Payet is out. I don't know. Marseille without Payet is like pizza without cheese. Like, it could be okay, but it's still like, you're not going to trust it fully. They've had a great start to the season, but yeah, he's what makes the whole thing tick there in Marseille. They're like, they still have a couple of nice players, but again, like, they brought in Harit from Schalke, who's quite an interesting player. Saw him play live a lot. They brought in Shedjan Under from Everton, which is a great signing.
He's been sorry to interrupt you. He's been their best player this season. Under. He's been absolutely sensational for them, creating chance. I know he doesn't always get the final assist, but he's the guy who's making everything take. I watched him playing last Sunday evening in Monaco, and he was unplayable. He was absolutely outstanding.
He was brilliant at Schalke as well. It's just when you come to the Premier League and you're getting a start here, and then in 2 more games you're getting 30 minutes, a la Van der Beek, it's very hard to prove yourself at all, or either getting any sort of run. I don't think they're going to be playing a striker in that game. Guendouzi for them. Apparently he's I was going to say something there, but apparently there's some serious issues with him off the field in terms of his character and stuff. He's been hopped around from a lot of clubs. I think when I saw him first at Arsenal, I was like, they're sorted for the next 10 years. This is the centre midfielder they've wanted since Vieira. But again, there's something there with character. But on his day, he's super talented, brilliant passer of the ball, box-to-box sort of midfielder. Yeah, I suppose I could take them there just because, is it Ron or Ren or Rons? It's one of them.
I don't know.
Yeah, apologies to my French teacher in school. Marseille.
We'd say Ron.
Say Ron. Yeah. All right. Let's pop over to the next one. We spoke about Atletico Madrid. Talk to me about Wolfsburg. We both have that, which is unusual. We agree on anything.
It is, yeah, but there again, it's one of these things until they. This is a trend in this podcast, really, is until they let me down, I'm going to stay with them because they're just one of my favorite teams in Germany at the moment. Mainly because they're the only team in Germany you can trust not to concede 4 or 5 goals in any given game, maybe outside of Bayern. Any of the teams in Germany can concede any amount of goals.
You
Uh,
100% cannot trust Bayern not to concede as well.
that's 100%. And Wolfsburg, like, they're the only team you can trust defensively in Germany. Like, even during the week, they went, they were playing Champions League. Oh, it's gone from my head, Biggie. You can tell me there who they were playing. They were away from home. Were they
Lille.
playing Lille, actually? And they were under the cosh for the last half an hour. They had a man sent off with about a half an hour to go. And they just rode it out. They're so solid at the back. Like, they've started the season, they beat Leipzig 1-0, Bochum 1-0 at home, and then they won a 2-0 away from home at Fürth, and they actually conceded a goal against Hertha on the road to win 2-1. We were speaking earlier about the under 4.5s and all that for a team to win. There's no need to do that this week because they're 4-5 straight up. But usually with Wolfsburg, I find they're the best team you can bulk up the price by putting in Wolfsburg to win and under 4.5 goals. We did that last week in our hunch list, actually. They were away at someone. They were way too short to back straight up. Was that at Perth last week? And they were a good price. I think they were around 6-4 to win and under 4.5 goals, and they were odds on way too short to just win the game. So it's just, they're one of them teams. They just, I know you like their centre half, the American guy, Brooks. Yeah, they've lots of good players. The big man up front is just a goal machine. I think has 68 goals in 120 games or something for the club.
Yeah, I am Wout Weghorst, or Wout Weghorst, as they say in his home country, the Netherlands. But yeah, he's a serious player, still at 29. You know what I love about Wolfsburg, and you see this a lot with teams. Wolves comes to mind actually in the Premier League. Their players aren't good enough to be bought, but they're still good players. I mean, like for Wolfsburg, Bowley, Cody, Saiz, Jimenez, they would probably be too expensive to pry away from a club, and they're very, very good players, but they're not good enough probably to get to that next level. They could definitely work at the next level, but clubs aren't going to break the bank to get them there. And Wolfsburg have loads of them. Babu, the wing-back from Switzerland who showed so well in the Euros, Weghorst we mentioned. They brought in Lucas Namencha, this guy from Anderlecht, really quick forward, has 2 goals already this year, which is a third of Wolfsburg's goals. This is Wolfsburg all over. Top of the league, 4 games, 4 wins, 6 goals for, 1 goal against. 3 1-0s. What is it? Yeah. 2 1-0s, a 2-0, and a 2-1. It's like if you would ever, like, the bookies just doesn't rate them because, again, people who are betting, it's going to be heavy Bayern, heavy Dortmund. People are going to be looking at Leipzig, Mönchengladbach, and Leverkusen before they even think of looking at Wolfsburg. But they've been consistently good. Another one of those players who isn't good enough to pry away is Maximilian Arnold. Everything runs through him. He's just fantastic midfielder, brilliant plays ball. Just a really, really good player. Probably a bit too good to play for, or like maybe could have done it at a higher level, should I say, but he won't be bought. And Wolfsburg have just in the lovely sweet spot. Leicester were there for years actually too, where you're not going to pay a fortune for 30 plus Jamie Vardy, and then they had loads of quite good players that just other teams didn't want to pry away or didn't want to spend the money.
Yeah, you could say they're very similar to Leicester in that way, and that they're consistently now in the last 2 years like challenging for top 4, challenging the big boys. Like, like you were saying there, like people just throw in Leverkusen. Every week I look at the odds in the Bundesliga, no matter who Wolfsburg are playing and who Leverkusen are playing, say outside the top 3, Leipzig, Dortmund and Munich, they're always way shorter than Wolfsburg. And you can't trust them. Like, whereas you can trust Wolfsburg, and that's what I like about them in Germany. Now they're playing one of our favourite teams from last year in Hunchtime in Frankfurt, who we were on quite a bit last year, but things are all different at Frankfurt now. They have a new coach who was actually Wolfsburg's coach last year. And the players, the style Frankfurt used to play, that all-out attack, like their games last year were mental to watch. You 3-2s, 3-1s galore. And that just has stopped this year. They're struggling to score goals. They've had a poor start to the season by their standards. And I don't think the players are there suit the conservative style of the coach. And they're just struggling. Like, I think they've, like, how many goals have they scored this season? I'm not too sure off the top of my head. I think one, maybe they might have scored twice in one game. 5 goals all season. Yeah, like, you know, like last year, you could make a case they would have scored 5 goals in one game.
And they did several times. They were absolutely
Yeah.
phenomenal last year. But yeah, Glasner comes in as coach. That conservative Wolfsburg style, it really doesn't fit with Frankfurt. And this is the thing we were talking about earlier, fitting a style of coach to the way you want to play football and what you want to do. And Frankfurt's gung-ho shit was absolutely brilliant to watch for the last couple of years. Filip Kostic, one of the most underrated wingbacks in Europe, getting 10 plus assists every year from left wing back was unbelievable. Like, they haven't brought in anything of note, to be honest, transfer wise. So it's been a tough window for them. Frankfurt will be absolutely fine though. They won't be near the relegation places at the end of the year, I imagine. Have we any other bets?
One more I like on Sunday. I don't know, have you one? I think that's the end of yours for the weekend. One more I like on Sunday is a team we always liked as well in Real Betis. They're at home to newly promoted Espanyol. Espanyol are still to win on their return. Or like they've played 4 games. They lost to Atletico. They've 2-0 draws, and they lost to Mallorca. Whereas Betis had a slow start. I watched them last night playing Celtic in the Europa League, and they're just an unreal watch. They have a brilliant coach in Manuel Pellegrini. We all remember him from his City days, Villarreal days back in the day. Brilliant coach. There's some outstanding attacking players. You have Fekir there. Another one of these players.
Fekir is to Betis what Payet is to Marseille. He's just way too good to be playing for them.
He's like we were saying earlier, Biggie. He's one of these players that should be at another level, but I don't know why he's not. There was the rumours of his injury, even though he hasn't missed a league game in like 5 years. But there was rumours that his knee was bad. They also have their young youth academy player in Rodri. He's a young Spaniard. He looks good. Sergi Canales, always good. And 40-year-old Joaquin is still going. I think that man will go forever. He was playing when I was a child, I think. I remember him very fondly in Championship Manager back in the day. But yeah, there's goals in them, and I just like them. They're 5-6, I think, at home. 19-20, sorry, at home to Espanyol. I think they'll have too much firepower. Now, they do concede goals. Like Celtic scored 3 there last night, could have scored another 3, but they also could have scored another 4 on top of the 4 they got. And that's the way they played. Like, they had a slow start. They 2-1-1 draws, and then they lost to Madrid. But in that game with Madrid, they lost 1-0, but they had 12 shots on goal at the Bernabeu. Like, it wasn't like they were playing poorly, just they just had a slow start. They won 2-1 in Granada last week, won against Celtic midweek, so they're going for 3 wins in a week. And I think they're a team who could sneakily be around that top 4 come the end of the season, that 4th place, because I think Barcelona are very weak. I think the big 3 in Spain for this season are obviously Atletico, Real, Sevilla. I think that 4th spot is up for grabs, and it would not surprise me if they were the one. Sorry, go on.
Do you have it in that order?
I would have it at Atletico, Real, and Sevilla. Yeah, that would be my order at the moment.
Sevilla did really well. Like, Lopetegui did really well not to lose any of his players. Apart from Kunde, wasn't it?
Yeah, but there's just something about Sevilla. They're so good for, say, 6-7 weeks in a row. They seem to hit a patch. They did it last year. They hit that patch. They were very close at the end of the season last year to actually winning the league. But they had that little patch where they went 5 games without a win. I'd still have Real Madrid ahead of them. Real Madrid have been impressing me now. They have impressed me so far this season. And I think Atletico are the best team in Spain. I think Barcelona are a long, long way off it at the moment. Like, I think we were saying during the week, we were comparing their 3 strikers to Barca teams of the past. Like is it De Jong and the Danish guy? His name's gone for me. You get it.
Martin Brathwaite.
That's the guy. And Memphis, like if that's your front three, I'm sorry, like, but like would that be a front three? Would that be acceptable to Sevilla? Probably not. You know.
A big thing, like Luke de Jong was surplus to requirements at Sevilla. They sell him. They are like Barcelona are buying Sevilla subs, which shows you what sort of financial shithole they're in at the minute. Um, but yeah, it's like kind of scary times. At the same time, they do have Trincao on loan at Wolves. I really liked him, as you said, so far this season. He'll be back next year. They've Sandro Dest, the wingback, is only 20. He's a fantastic player. They have Pedri in the middle of the field with Frankie de Jong. The one thing I noticed about Frankie de Jong is I actually think he might be better in a Fernandinho role. When he drops into a centre half role for almost all the game and then either carries the ball or progresses it forward through passing, but he's really comfortable going really, really deep. And I didn't see that as much at Ajax, but as he kind of gets older, he seems to be good in that role, kind of the Jorginho kind of role.
Yeah. And also with Barca, like they still have Piqué and Jordi Alba, who are both past it. We've seen them against Bayern midweek. They were a shambles.
What were your big takes from that game?
Big take was, as I thought, I know PSG are favourites for Champions League because of the names they have, but Bayern are the team I think they all have to beat. Bayern and Chelsea, funnily enough, I still think are the two teams to beat in Europe. Bayern were very good, but I wouldn't read too much into it because it's not the Barcelona that we are used to in the last 15 years. Now I know Bayern have been hammering everyone in front of them all season, but it is early days in the season, and like the Bayern squad, we all know it. They won the Champions League 2 years ago. It tells you how hard. That's the one thing that worries me about Chelsea for the Champions League. How hard it is to defend it. When you see that Bayern team last year, you see like the Liverpool team. I don't think we'll ever see a team like that Real Madrid team that won 3 in a row with Ronaldo and Benzema, Modric, Cruz. Like that. Everybody always talks about Barcelona under Guardiola as being the best team to ever play football, but even they couldn't win back-to-back Champions Leagues. And like that Real Madrid team won 3 in a row Champions Leagues, and it's nearly impossible to do.
It was incredible. Just as you say it, let's just finish off with a little bit of Champions League. City have gone into favourites ahead of PSG 7-2 because PSG drew at Club Brugge. Also, it doesn't matter if they. Anyway, I'll just fly through it. City are 7-2, PSG 4-1, Bayern Munich 6-1, Chelsea 7s, Liverpool 8s. That tells me the bookies have no fucking clue who's going to win it if the first 5 teams are separated by a couple of points here or there. Next you have United, which is obviously because of the fans. That's 12-1. Don't go near that. Real Madrid 14-1. Again, that's a fan thing. Juventus, that's a name thing. Here we go. Atletico Madrid 28-1. Now I'm getting interested. Inter Milan 66-1. Sevilla, Atalanta, AC, Barcelona 33-1, Dortmund 33. So where do you see value there?
I was going to say Atletico, but then again, they just seem to find a way. Every year I kind of tip them up to win the Champions League, and they just kind of find a way not to win it. They also have a tough group. They're in with Liverpool and Porto, and they dropped 2 points at home to Porto during the week, so I wouldn't touch them for the moment. Like Bayern at 6-1, even Liverpool at 8-1, like they're proven they can win it. Like I'd much rather back any of the two of them than back City, who have no striker, or back PSG because they have a few names. Like, you know, that's just the way I do.
Earlier in the week, how defensive Guardiola got, sort of, see, this is why we don't need a striker. And then you're sort of thinking in the back of your mind, you need a striker because of the semi-final and finals of the Champions League, specifically the final. Like you don't need a striker to beat feckin' Watford and Crystal Palace and stuff, but you will need a 30-goal striker probably to win the Champions League. But I see value there, like in I see value in Real Madrid, 14, 16, 18 to 1, something like that, different shops. Or I see value in Bayern Munich, who, if I was putting on a bet, 6 to 1 on that looks really, really good. They look,
Yeah.
it was scary against Barcelona. It was really men against boys. Like, I don't know what they're feeding them in Bavaria, but Bayern Munich looks they physically overpowered them. They beat the shit out of them. They looked really, really good. And Atletico Madrid, I back them every year to win the Champions League because they're always about 30 to 1. So they have yet to do it for me. It's just they're consistently overpriced. But that draw at home to Porto in their first game, that was really, really, that could be detrimental. That could mean they're getting 8 points from this group.
I'll add in there AC Milan are in that group as well, who are not a bad side at all, as they showed against Liverpool during the week. So I would they're under pressure now to come out of that group, considering they still have to go to Porto, Liverpool, and Milan. They've Milan and Liverpool to come to them, but they would have probably, out of all them games, they probably would have thought if they were guaranteed 3 points, it would be at home to Porto. Out of them games, so probably Porto and Milan. So, like, they're under pressure now to qualify from that group.
I'm going to put it on the line here. Atletico aren't getting. I don't know if they're getting out of that group.
No, I don't think they will. I think AC Milan will come out with Liverpool. I just think the one thing AC Milan have going for them is goals. They could be a shout, actually, as a creepy each way alternative to
109 to 1.
What?
Getting 150 to 1, 120 to 1, between 100 and 200 to 1.
Like, they're top of Serie A at the moment. They've had a brilliant start to the season. They score goals. They have experience. They signed very well again. I was impressed with them against Liverpool. Anfield is a hard place to go on a Wednesday night, a Champions League game. They held their own. I thought they were pretty good.
They held their own, like Tomori from Chelsea. I don't know why. Well, I suppose Chelsea let him go because they're pretty stacked at the back. But he's a really good young centre half. Alexis Sailmakers looks really, really good winger. Who else? Frank Kessie has been consistently good for them for the last couple of years. They signed Giroud up front, Giroud to join Ibra. So 2 old men who are well able to score goals. So whichever one isn't injured, the other one can fill in the gaps. Ante Rebic has been disappointing, but still has a bit to offer. Mike Magnon, they signed from Lille. He's a class keeper. He was the best keeper, Golden Gloves in Ligue 1 last year. And
they have the young Portuguese guy as well, as every team seems to have a young Portuguese guy in, is it Leo? Is that his name?
Yeah.
He is deadly, a little tricky winger. I seen he scored a goal there last week in the Serie A. I should check it up, where he just dribbled the ball from the middle of the pitch and finished it. It was a brilliant individual skill. And they've Tonali as well. So they have a good squad. And if they get out of the group, nobody wants to play them over 2 legs later in the season, because they can score goals. They're probably just that little bit short, but at 200 to 1, they're worth €1 each way, I'd say. I'd rather back them at 200 to 1 than Barcelona at 33 to 1. That's our PSG at 7 to 2 or whatever they are. That'd be my way of looking at it.
What about Inter at 66 to 1? Between 50 and 80 to 1. There's one, I will just say 66 because that's what most of them are offering.
Yeah, they lost their first game at home to Madrid during the week as well, but I think that group is fairly handy. I think the 2 of them will come out.
I thought they were the better team on the night. Madrid caught a late goal. But yeah, anyway, we won't get into Champions League. We'll have a look at that in a proper podcast next week. It was just interesting to have a peek at the prices now and how the prices have changed after one round of games, which is a bit silly. But anyway, Mr. Lunchtime, thank you so much.
Thanks, Biggie. Pleasure as always.
Yeah, and a pleasure as always, Mr. Lunchy. To all our fans, thank you so much for liking and subscribing. Please, if you're enjoying the podcast, we're not funded by anybody. We make no money. Share it with your friends if you can, or chat to people in the pub about it. We'll definitely endeavour to be honest, win, lose or draw. We always keep our results up on site. And next week we might do a bit of NFL. We're supposed to do it tonight, but a bit of NFL next week, maybe a bit of Champions League in a couple of weeks. We'll continue to do these podcasts as long as you continue to enjoy them. Thank you so much.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
Oh, I love it, Mr. Lunchtime. What a finish. Time for a pint. Goodbye.